let's talk about something that's kind of been bugging the tech world for a while. We all know Europe is brimming with talent, right? Amazing ideas, brilliant engineers. But when it comes to creating those globe-spanning tech giants, something's missing. There's a piece of the puzzle that just doesn't seem to fit. Today, we're going to figure out what that piece is and talk about a pretty radical idea to finally put it in place. Just look at this graph. Seriously, on the left, you've got the value of the big tech companies founded in the US in the last 50 years. And on the right, the ones from Europe, it's not even a contest. We're talking about a 70 times difference in value. 70. It's an absolute landslide. To put it another way, which is just wild when you think about it, you could take all of Europe's top tech companies from that period, put them inside Microsoft, and you'd still have space left over. So the big question is, why? What is going on that's holding Europe back this much? To really get it, we have to stop looking at the big picture for a second and zoom all the way in. Let's follow the story of two founders. We'll call them Amy from Belgium and Tomasz from Poland. They've built this killer AI model, and they're ready to take on the world. But this is where their incredibly expensive, frustrating roller coaster is just getting started. You see, Amy and Thomas are about to run what we'll call the European Startup Gauntlet. It's got three main challenges that pretty much every founder on the continent has to face. First, just creating the company, then getting the money to actually grow it, and finally, convincing the best people to come work with them. So hurdle number one, setting up shop. To do this in Belgium, they need a lawyer, a notary public, and a detailed 2-year financial plan before they've even sold anything. The paperwork's all in Dutch, by the way. So 6 weeks and a few €1,000 down the drain later, they finally have a company. They're alive, but they've already lost a ton of time and money they couldn't afford to lose. Okay, now for the money. Thomas starts pitching to investors outside of Belgium, and he just hits a brick wall. And it's not the idea. They love the idea. The problem is the legal stuff. For an investor in, say, Sweden or the US, putting money into a Belgian company means dealing with a completely different legal system than a German one or an Italian one. And that uncertainty is just too much of a headache. And this is the kind of thing they hear again and again. Every single one of the 27 EU countries has its own legal quirks, its own tax rules, its own little traps. And what that does is it scares international money away, keeping capital stuck inside these little national silos. So they scrape together some local funding and they get to the final boss, hiring. To get the best engineers, they have to offer stock options, right? That's how it's done. But in Belgium, employees can get hit with a tax bill the second they're granted the options, even if the company is worthless and they can't sell them. They call it a dry tax, because you're paying tax on money you don't actually have. And it's a huge red flag for top talent. So after fighting through all of that, is it really any surprise that a jaw-dropping 93% of European founders say they'd rather just incorporate in the US, where you can start a company in an afternoon, investment contracts are standard, and stock options make sense? This isn't just a small problem, it's a massive brain drain. Okay, so it sounds pretty bleak, but there's a really powerful idea bubbling up that could completely rewrite the rules for founders like Amy and Tomas. People are calling it the 28th regime. So what on earth is it? Think of it like this. It's a virtual 28th country, sitting right on top of the other 27. It would offer a single, simple, unified set of rules for starting, funding, and growing a company. And you could access it from anywhere in the EU. Instead of the impossible task of getting 27 countries to agree on everything, you just create one new, optional, and much better system. Now, this is where the legal nerds get excited, but it's super important. For this to work, it has to be done as a regulation, not a directive. A directive is just a suggestion. Each country makes its own version, and you're right back to the same mess. But a regulation? That's one law, one set of rules that applies everywhere, automatically. No ifs, ands, or buts. And this isn't some fringe idea. There's a huge movement behind it called EU Inc. We're talking more than 18,000 founders, CEOs, and investors, including the brains behind giants like Mistral AI and Wise. These are the people who have lived through the mess, and they are all shouting for a real unified solution. So let's get practical. How would this 28th regime, this EU Inc. idea, actually solve the real-world problems that Amy and Tomasz slammed into? All right, let's rewind. Remember roadblock number 1, that 6-week, multi-thousand-euro nightmare just to get a company registration number in Belgium? The fix? A single online EU registry. No notaries, no stacks of paper, just a simple digital form. Amy could set up their company in English in less than 24 hours for under €100. That's not just an improvement, it's a revolution. Okay, what about that fundraising wall? Remember how investors from other countries basically said, love the product, hate the paperwork, no thanks? The answer here is something called the EU FAST. It's a standardized investment contract. Because it would be the exact same simple, trusted document in all 27 countries, investors can learn it once and use it everywhere, without hiring an army of local lawyers. This would finally get capital flowing across borders. And finally, the talent problem. That crazy dry tax on stock options and the headache of trying to give shares to employees in both Belgium and Poland. EU Inc.'s proposal is a unified stock option plan, the EU ESOP. And the most important part, employees only pay tax when they actually sell their shares and have cash in hand. This one change would finally let European startups compete head-to-head with Silicon Valley for the best talent in the world. So yeah, life gets way easier for Amy and Tomas. But this is so much bigger than just one startup. Let's zoom back out and look at why creating this seamless ecosystem is so unbelievably critical for Europe's future. Check out this number. Right now, only 18% of early-stage startup funding in Europe actually crosses a border. That means, for the most part, Lithuania is trying to compete with China on its own. The Netherlands is taking on the US alone. A system like EU Inc. smashes those internal walls and lets Europe actually compete as one single massive market. And this quote just nails it. We live in an age of giants. And to compete with them, Europe has to start acting like a giant. It needs to use its incredible scale, and building a single set of rules for its most innovative companies is probably the most important first step. So really, it all boils down to this one question. For decades, Europe has been this collection of brilliant but separate little ponds of innovation. This idea offers a way to turn all of that into one giant, powerful ocean. If they can pull this off, this might just be the missing piece that finally unlocks a whole new generation of European tech titans.